Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 312, Sold with Updike Pugh. I'm Jeff Updike.
I'm Austin Pugh, and today we're going to go just a little bit north of 635 and take a look at 3205 Squires,wood, which is in Trafalgar Square.
What?
It sounds like marbles, but it's right.
Okay.
It's a good place.
Not in London.
No, it's a
the
great.
Dallas version of Trafalgar Square.
It's really cool. And in the second half, we're going to talk a little bit about insurance and what you think about Elon's brain chip. That's odd. We'll see how that plays out. So before we get into this segment, I just had a thought the other night because I feel like real estate kind of has like maybe a stereotype where you just think it's just going to be opening doors and it's fun thing. Because I send stuff that we do when we're on tour, and people are like, "Oh gosh, I wish I had your job." And it is the highlights.
Yeah.
So that's the high reel. But you know, with the advent of AI, and we're seeing so many different industries become impacted by through layoffs and the shifting. Do you think that there is a world where AI actually begins to not, and I'm not talking about paperwork and I'm not talking about systems, but begins to work as a realtor would?
I'm not sure I do, and I'm sure I'm biased, but I feel like usually the buying or selling of a home is one of the largest financial transactions anybody ever goes through. And going through that, I think people by and large do want somebody to hold their hand, explain the process, because it's not an uncomplicated process. I think there are parts of it that could be more uncomplicated, but I think it will be past my lifetime before that happens.
I think that there are so many nuances that are so specific either to the property or the buyer and the seller that it would make it impossible for AI to be able to correct. Because an AI is not going to have the relationships and they're not going to have the conversations to kind of extract and use, what is the real problem? What is the real issue that we're having here? And it's just funny because you and I have, I feel like in the last 6 months, I think expectations may have changed a little bit, and maybe we'll talk about that on another episode. But I feel like there's some buyer and seller expectations that are different now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, enough about that. Let's talk about the market, Jeff.
Okay.
Tell us what's going on.
Let's look at Market Watch, and I can.
All right, so Market Watch, we had an agent come in the other day and talk, and it's kind of like the lazy days of summer have approached. I feel like they got here a little bit earlier this year. I feel like we are in a situation where rates are kind of a little bit on the, are they going to come down? Are they not going to come down? We're seeing more inventory come onto the market. There's more options. This means prices are holding or actually softening. So I feel like what we're seeing here is to be expected.
I think so. I think, it's the time of year. We're also looking at the period of the month where the numbers don't really reflect a lot of things going on. The coming soon listings being down, there were still 73 in Dallas County.
Right.
There were new active listings. While it didn't change much from last week, there were still 689 that came on the market.
Exactly.
And then, not everybody puts their property into an option period. Sometimes it goes directly into a pending status. There were 400 of those that went into contract. So yes, inventory is still growing, but it feels like it's that time of year.
So what would be something that I could see, like clickbait, would be to say zero upgrade or zero increase in activity of new sales over the last 7 days in Dallas, to kind of create a nervous thing. But then when you dive into it, you're like, but that's still 600 and almost 70 that came on in 7 days. So I think the other thing too is we're really looking at Dallas, and when I look at 75229, my zip code that I live in has exploded. For 3 years, crickets.
Yeah.
And now it is just hopping over there.
There's a lot of inventory coming on in that zip code. There are there's a lot of builders that are
Yeah.
buying lots in that area now that they can't afford lots that are on the other side of Marsh Lane,
Yeah.
or B, can't find enough lots on the other side of Marsh Lane. So it's all jumped over to the west now.
When you go drive up and down Gooding on the south side of Merrill, there are so many new homes. It almost looks like a brand new neighborhood.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Lively, you know, 3 years ago when Lively shifted over
Yeah.
there. So anyway, lots happening. If you've got questions about a specific area, let us know. We'd be happy to pull data for you. And without further ado, let's jump in and talk about 3205 Squires Drive.
So I really like this house for a lot of reasons. I love the location. It is. We've shown out there several times. I think this is the first time we've had a listing in that development, but we've been familiarized with it just by having people interested. Location wise, just north of Beltline Road. It is also going to be very close to the silver line, the dark silver line that comes from the Richardson Plano area down toward downtown Carrollton. And that's going to be, I feel like that's going to be a game changer.
I would agree with you. I think that and it's one of the few east-west lines that we're going to have in the Metroplex. So a lot happens in here. Again, this one is interesting because it's so close to the Addison private airport, but then you also have DFW, which is extremely close, and just 20 minutes away you can be in left field. So commuter's paradise. Also, if you're actually in the car commuting, you can see you've got major highways above and below, and then also going north and south. Lots of ease in this area. So if you're not from Dallas and just looking at this area, it is more of a central area to the whole Metroplex, or in the Dallas area for sure.
And it's there's a lot of private schools up there near that. There are also a lot of public schools in the Carrollton Farmers Branch school district that is a really well-respected school district. The restaurant options you have within a mile of that are literally from 5-star to drive-through.
To mom and pops.
Yeah.
And it's Beltline. And
Yeah.
so Beltline is everything. And Beltline now has actually expanded to the actual east side of the toll road with even more. So there's so much in this area people don't really think about. So what we're going to do is roll some tape, and then Jeff and I are just going to have a conversation about what's so great. Because, again, this is a great neighborhood that when I actually bought the condo before it burned down, this was high on my list, and I had toured like 4 or 5 of them, but they needed too much work, and so I was like, I just don't know if this is what I want, and ended up buying a condo that burned down. So maybe this would have been a better decision. But this unit is, it's ready, and you don't realize 2,500 square feet as a 1-story. I think this unit just kind of, it's perfect. For me, I'm biased, and I know that.
It's got high ceilings, which I think are a really big plus. Had this had traditional 8-foot ceilings in it, I don't think it would feel as open and as bright and as light as this does. I love how you get so much light and natural light into this living room because you've got that central area that's the open courtyard for the pool. I love it.
So to me, this almost feels like a Palm Springs neighborhood.
Absolutely.
So I know it's built in 1972, but I think that they actually, on the interior, really feel more like a 1950s mid-century modern, because the rooms are really open. They didn't move any of the walls in here. This is just the way that it lives, and I think this is great because this is their interpretation of the dining room. They don't need a dining room. They've got a small breakfast nook area, and they've decided to turn this into this really great little game area. They kept the little, is that a terrarium or a little garden area?
I don't know what you'd really, garden area, interior garden area, which was kind of a thing to have back in this era.
And I think
My
it's
house had
great.
one.
Yours does.
My house had one in the living room.
I think it works out great, and I like the fact that you've got the bar and you've got the kitchen in this one area. They did the new flooring in through here, which again, that kind of grounds the entire place. Architects will tell you, run it throughout the entire place. These guys did. And that so entertaining. To me, you and I talked about it. I couldn't get over this place. whether you're like just 2 people, 1 person, or you've got 20, this can handle it. And everybody always winds up in a kitchen. This is a great way to keep everybody out of the kitchen and enjoy the rest of the house.
It's a great layout to, like you said, keep people out of the kitchen. That is, I was trying to think of a different way to say it, but that is like the best way.
It's a pet
because
peeve of mine.
you've still got plenty of room for people to move around, and there's a circular motion that can go on, coming into the kitchen from the game area and then coming back out. And the storage in this place is incredible.
That is true, because we were like, what is happening? So this right here will show you like the quick back and forth. It almost would, I feel like you can be like a little sous chef. There's changes you can make in here if you wanted to drop the height of that and make like the waterfall edge. I like that the kitchen was really good sized. It has a pantry there that they use, but the other pantry that they have that we didn't photograph is so big that they use it as one of their offices.
It's enormous.
You could put in a freezer, you could put in a refrigerator, you could make an entire custom closet system in it. It's behind those doors right there.
Yeah, the dome glass doors.
And it runs all the way to the back of the countertop and all the way past the coffee maker. So online, what we did was we did that 2D scan for this. And so you can see and you'll see how big that is.
I love this powder bath.
It cracks me
up. Love the wallpaper in this powder bath.
They were smart with this. And this is when you realize how big the room is. So they had it set up like this, and you and I are both like, leave it. And they're like, everything? And I go, leave it. How many times can you get a rower, a couch, a desk, and have room to walk around and not be cramped? And again, you talked about it earlier, but the high ceilings really kind of gift this with a little more room.
This is one of the guest rooms, and I'm really blown away at even how large the guest rooms are. And they're huge closets.
The closets are what I was just like, oh my gosh. So this is Jack and Jill. It goes back and forth. He kept the original wallpaper, which, honest to God, I feel like that wallpaper works today, even from 72.
And this is the master bedroom, and that's a king-size bed. That's a full-size couch with plenty of space, and it all looks out on the pool. Plantation shutters, which I think are really great. They had plantation shutters on those windows in the living room that we looked at a while ago.
Yeah.
They've taken all those down, which I totally agree with, but they put them in a closet. So if somebody wants them, and that's their style, they can go right back up.
Now check this out. So a lot of times you get only 2 sinks in this area. You have 2 sinks, but twice as much countertop space. The walk-in shower, it's not open, it's enormous. The toilet closet is right there, is large enough for a bidet. And then the person before them actually put this step-in tub, and they've used it and they love it. They said it's enormous.
And right behind those mirrors are where both of the double master closets are. So again, just incredible storage.
So this is a really interesting concept. So you've got the wall right there, the neighbors, and then this is your private pool. You've got a little seating area. You got a covered seating area. You've got your grill. There's nothing you don't want in this house. Oh, 2-car garage. We didn't take a picture of that.
That door goes out to the 2-car garage. There's laundry, full-size laundry out in that garage area. It's just incredible.
This is, and again, when you look at this floor plan, look at how large the rooms are. It all kind of makes sense of why this was so high on our list. So if you're interested in this one, it's 3205 Squirewood Drive. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage. It's built in 77, almost 2,600 square feet, priced at $475. And get this, that is $184 a foot.
That's cheap.
If you are looking in Uptown and you're like, I can't afford these prices, this is where you need to look. And how much are the HOAs?
$100, $75 a month.
$75 a month for HOAs. And you do get a little, there is a little park. There's walking sidewalks. There is a tennis court. And it's a really great place to live.
It is. So if you'd like to see it, or you'd like to see any of the other pictures we didn't use, click on the links below. If you'd like to see the house, reach out to us. We'd love to make that happen.
All right, we're going to jump into this topic of insurance. And I'm sure that everyone has had a little bit of a sticker shock when they open their policy renewals. And I thought that it was There was a Houston Chronicle article that came across my feed, and it caught my attention. And the reason it caught my attention is because it said that 47% of the homeowner insurance claims in Texas were declined. And they
We're closed with no payment.
closed with no payment. Don't let me get in trouble. And that is up 35% over last year.
It is up from 35%
that's right.
last year, so it was up 10% from last year.
And the industry or the national average is 42%, so we're above. And it just made me start thinking, wait a second, is this just like something that one article, one person's pulling from? But when I Googled for this, there are lots and lots and lots of articles that are being written. So we pulled some of the ones that we thought were interesting. And it doesn't look like, and this is what kind of makes me nervous, it doesn't look like anything is going to change anytime soon. Some of the things that they're talking about that are causing the increase in this is anywhere from the tariffs, the cost of goods.
Cost of goods, yeah.
We're talking about the number of large storms and the frequency of these storms. And pretty soon, we're going to be talking about a shortage of labor that's going to be able to come out and do this. And I think these punches are what we're really beginning to see result in higher policy deductibles and also limited coverage.
I really feel like Tammy Farmer's told us this several times that the insurance companies are getting out of the roofing business. They don't want to do the roof anymore unless it is part of a catastrophic claim.
I would agree
If
with
it's just
that.
a windstorm or just just a windstorm really is what they're trying to get away from.
And we used to talk about like the wind damage and the hail, and make sure it has this and that, and make sure that coverage is in there. They're getting to the point now where it's not even covered. It's not even an option to have that added. There's a really good article on Insurance News Net that was written in June the 14th in 2025. And again, we're talking about restricted coverage, deductibles that are on the rise. It was also a really interesting thing that talked about fewer and fewer people are actually challenging declines, that they're just letting it ride out. And I know that my insurance, and you would think that I've got, and I don't have Tammy Farmer's insurance because there was a claim, so she couldn't get me a better rate. So I don't want that to be misleading. But my insurance company said that my roof was fine, even after I had a water leak. And I ended up replacing it myself out of my pocket. So I don't know. This is one of the things that kind of it is the second question that people usually ask me. First, how's real estate? Second, what are you seeing on insurance? And I feel like this is going to be just one of the topics that we can't get away from. And I think that, one of the things too that we've kind of put together to talk about is what happens when you make a claim. Because I don't think people realize what kind of a negative impact it can have on your policy, on your ability to get a new policy, to get competitive rates. And then one of the things it talked about was that it could impact the next owner, meaning if you go to sell it within the, 2-year window, it could impact their ability to get insurance because it's seen in that clue report as a query.
If I know for a long time, if there were more than 2 water claims within a 2-year period, it pretty much nixed you from getting any new company to write policy whatsoever, even if it changed hands.
So it just triggers a no policy. So then what do we do?
That owner's going to end up keeping that house until they get beyond that time frame when a new buyer, a new buyer can always get insurance. Is it going to be insurance that a lender is going to be comfortable with?
Right.
Or B, is it going to cover all the things that a buyer wants it to? You talked about wind and hail being, excluded from some policies. And, for some people that they're just not going to buy it if they can't get that.
Well, one of our clients, we were just having a conversation with them this week, and they were thinking about buying a property down in Galveston on the peninsula, and then they got the quotes for the insurance, and the insurance was more than the monthly mortgage. And they're like, we're out.
Yeah, crazy.
We're out. So that is our thoughts on insurance. If you have a claim that you're going to make, we'd be happy to talk to you before you make a call, just to make sure it's worth it, give you some tips, and make sure your policy is in place. But let's scooch over because let's talk about some Elon Musk and his brain chip that he is. But Elon Musk is talking about his new brain chip called Neuralink.
Neuralink, yeah.
And so, say what you want about it. I also remember when he also said that he had perfected the ability to bore under cities so that he could run subways cheaper, and it was actually only done to like tamp down the dislike of automated cars. There was never a reason for that, is what allegedly they were saying. So I'm like, is this real? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did immediately think, we kind of pulled the clip up, the movie called Gentlemen, the Special Service. Does anybody remember this one?
Oh, yeah.
When everybody had the little brain implants. This, for someone who uses ketamine on a consistent basis, to have the ability to have access to the chip that is in your brain, I don't know. I think I'm going to question that.
Lots of ethical points around this.
So it is interesting because one of the claims that they're making with the Neuralink is that it would actually have the ability to, or it has the ability to like give sight back to a degree. It is giving a person the ability to move an object by thinking about it. So they can move the cursor on the computer by thinking about it. But to me, I'm just like, when does art imitate life and vice? I mean, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
So I think I know the answer, but I have to ask, Jet, we have a visitor.
Ranger.
Here comes Nugget, or Ranger. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
This is Ranger, probably the most watched show we've done because there's a dog on it. Would you do it? Would you have him put a chip in if it were to like make you smarter or make you access more of your brain or give you some powers?
It would have to be farther down the road for me.
I'd agree with that.
The whole concept of it would have to be farther down the road.
I'm going to say this. I would do it if it wasn't related to Elon Musk.
Interesting.
But not with him.
Well, that probably plays into my thought about waiting till it's farther down the line. Bye,
Ranger. That's enough. He said enough. All right. Well, we hope you found some insurance discussions and some Elon discussions interesting. And we hope you come back. Join, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
And just remember, we want to be your realtors for life.
Did you know there are a lot of ways you can keep up with us? For starters, every Wednesday at noon, we host Sold with Updike Pugh, live from our Facebook and YouTube channels. Our show is dedicated to featuring some of the best homes in the Dallas market and about sharing timely information about market trends. But don't worry if you miss the show, because you can always listen to them on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.
Still want more? Follow us on Instagram, where you get a first-hand look at what it's like to be a realtor. And it's not always previewing homes for clients or getting them ready to go live in MLS. Lastly, visit our website and you'll be able to create a custom home search tailored specifically to your wants and needs that's timely and accurate. Whether it's square foot, location, or the neighborhood, we have you covered.
If you'd like to know how much your home is worth, we can help with that too. Just visit homeprice.fyi, enter a few pieces of information like your home address, and we'll email you a price. When you're ready to talk real estate, you can reach us online, by phone, or by text at 214-377-2223.
And remember, we want to be realtors for life.